Welcome, everybody. Welcome in. Sorry, just getting my 1,000,001 tabs settled. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, depending on where you are calling in from. Welcome to part 2 of the Fossil Fuel Foolery webinar. I'm so grateful to be here today with these amazing panelists. There's a real treat planned. Like, I'm shaking with excitement. And we're gonna get started here immediately as to make sure that we're using good use of everyone's time. Quickly, I'll introduce myself. So my name is not my email address. My name is Cheryl Kopong, she, her pronouns, calling from Atlanta, Georgia, and I am a project manager with Chisholm Legacy Project, and I'm so grateful and excited to be here with you all today. We have an amazing panel of wonderful femmes present with us today, and there's just a lot of wealth and really incredible knowledge in the room. So yeah, with that said, we are going to get right into things. I will give everyone the opportunity to introduce themselves, tell us where you're calling from, your organization, your pronouns, and one thing that you are excited for this weekend. Okay, let's start with Roy Shetta.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to be here this morning. It is morning here. It's 9 in the morning. And it's like I was anticipating this because I really enjoyed the last conversation. So this is one of the highlights for my week, just being back in community with all of you beautiful, very intelligent women who are doing so much in your communities and abroad. So very happy about that. I am now Dr. Roshetta Sibley Ozan. Since we last spoke, I have officially completed all of the requirements to receive my doctorate degree. And also, I am the founder, director, and CEO of Vessel Project of Louisiana and the co-founder and director of the Gulf Fossil Finance Hub located here in Southwest Louisiana. Happy to be here with all of you.
Yes, let me add them letters when I address you. Thank you so much, Dr. Roshetta. We appreciate you for being here. I'm going to kick it over to Malaika. And do I say that? Did I making sure I said that right? But you also introduce yourself. And also, we have some amazing spoken word that is coming right after this from them after everybody introduces themselves. So, really excited about that.
Good morning, everyone. It's actually literally 12 a.m. In my part of the world. So Debeki Kiem. Maya Maloy Karne Diker Malaika, Kakanali Killer Daware Zagareb Neo, Kabowski Bataya near Baida. So my name is Malaika Gisafatofihi. I am from the Zagareb and Dawareb tribes of the Miriam people in so-called Australia and the Torres Strait Islands. So we're Black natives. Very proud of who I am and our history and our peoples and our fight. Land rights, land back, and racial justice. I'm also from the district of Bashari in Lebanon, the village of Fahefa in Tonga, the village of Fosi in Samoa and Fijian. All my ancestry informs how I exist in this world and how I carry myself and how I story tell. And therefore, it has really guided me in what I've been passionate about. I've been very fortunate with my grow up and being able to see how the world treats our people and also connecting that to fights all over the world, like my ancestors did, like our old people did. So it's really cool to be here. I've been really, grateful for Sister Cheryl for inviting me into this space. A little bit more about the work that I do is that I've started the first Torres Strait Islander youth-led collective on our island, May Island, where we are making climate change resources in our language. So one, obviously in English, but the other two resources are in Creole. So me plus speak this Kenya. but make sure that everyone sabe was kind of how climate change affect people. But also Miriam Mir, which is what I introduced myself and at the start. But yeah, really excited to be here, very grateful. And so yeah, just taking it all in.
Thank you so much. We're so grateful that you're here. And with that time difference, that's a huge sacrifice. So thank you. Stephanie?
Hello. Good morning. It's nice to see everyone. My name is Stephanie Cartney, and I'm calling in from Los Angeles. So I work for the nonprofit Black Women for Wellness. I'm the environmental justice program coordinator. So Black Women for Wellness, we're a nonprofit dedicated to the health and well-being of Black women and Black girls, and we're based in South LA. And I guess for me, I guess I'm looking forward to this weekend. We are planning a field trip with some of we have like a delegation of community members who we kind of talk to a lot about what is happening within our community. And so we're going to have a fun field trip, and it's going to be a fun walking tour of one of the larger state parks. So really excited about that. But yes.
Thank you so much. Welcome. And our last panelist, Kundai. If you could introduce yourself, if you're able to come off mute. By chance. Okay, no worries. Kundai is with the African Center for Governance and is from the great country of Zimbabwe. So appreciate her for joining. Not sure, she let me know she had some technical difficulties. We're, calling from all over the world. So just so grateful for everyone being here with us today. And yeah, with that said, we want to just go ahead and go right into the spoken word. So if you're ready.
Yeah, I actually have a surprise, Female. I'll do two poems, one about my name, and then I'll just read the poem that I read at the People's Assembly. If that's okay. You can tell me no. But yeah. Okay.
For just for
So
time, I'm so sorry. Just for timekeeping sake,
mhm.
if we I think we have um 10 minutes for this section. So just if it can just stay within that. But feel free, we're
Yeah,
very excited.
I'll keep my eye on the time. So the very first poem is funny enough about my name. It's called Say My Name. And yeah, it's been published in Firefront. The first it's a collection of Black poetry from all over so-called Australia. And yeah, it has its own life. It's been published in Ireland. And I'm really proud of this poem and its story and history. Um, a quick reference to my father. He had a dream about me before I was born, about chasing a little girl with big curly hair. And that was the name that he was calling out, Malaika, Malaika, Malaika. So this is the first poem. My name was my name before I walked among the living, before I could breathe, before I had lungs to fill, before my great grandmother passed and everyone was left to grieve. My name was birthed from a dream, a whisper from gods to a king, a shout into the stars that produced another that shone as bright. They held me without being burnt, humming lullabies in pidgin. My name was passed down from my ancestors. They acknowledged my roots grew in two places. So they ripped my name from the ocean and mixed it into the bloodlines of my totems. My name has survived the destruction of worlds and the genocidal rebirthing of so-called ones. It's escaped the overwhelmed jaw of the deathbringer many a times. It has survived the conflicts that resulted in my gods from both lands knowing me as kin, but noticing that I am painfully unrecognizable and lost. They are incapable of understanding the foreign tongue that was forced on me. My name has escaped cyclones and their daughters. It has been blessed by the dead as they mix dirt, salt, and liquid red into my flesh. My name is the definition of resilience. It is a warrior that manifested because of warriors. So, excuse me as I roll my eyes or sigh as you mispronounce my name over and over again, or when you give me another that dishonors my mothers and fathers, that doesn't acknowledge my lineage to my island home or sense of rainforest and ocean fame, you will not stand here on stolen land and whitewash my name. For it is two words intertwined, holding as much power as a hurricane. Say it right or don't say it at all. For I am Meleika. I will answer when you call. Thank you so much. And so the next one that I have is the speech that I shared at the People's Assembly. I had 1 hour to write it, and I made sure that 1 hour was deadly, as in I did my best to make sure my people's fight was reflected in what I was sharing with people who, one, don't know that we exist, and two, people who would care and be as passionate as we were about our fight and struggle. I am a descendant of warriors they could not kill, a descendant of fishermen, storytellers, singers, dancers, gardeners, weathermen who read the stars, clouds, and colors of the sky. My ancestors loved me, our people, so much that they ensured we existed today by resisting and protecting our country, our lands, our waters, our reefs and skies. I stand here as the first from my island to share our realities of erosion and king tides that take our ancestors' bones, where we are not afforded the grace of dying once, but we die again and again with the displacement of our bones, of how colonialism and colonial ways of governing land is killing our country and people, as indigenous knowledges are ignored and invalidated. Our homes being split into two, our backyards washed away with talks of relocating our people from lands that have sustained us for generations. My grandfather, more than 80 years old, was displaced in the 1940s from our homeland of Dawar, and this could happen again in his lifetime. Our contribution to global emissions is minuscule, and yet we face the effects of climate change first. We feel it as a community and see it reflected in our home. Our seasons, made up of 4 winds, are changing, affecting our ability to plant and catch certain fish. It's affecting migration patterns and birthing rates, including one of my totems, turtles, which have also been dying recently from the extreme heat. Koki, one of our winds, did not arrive at the beginning of last year. Can you imagine what it means to my people that our wind did not arrive? Then there's mainland so-called Australia being destroyed by mining and fracking. Sacred sites and trees that were touched and planted by our first ancestors wiped away violently. We know intimately the chokehold the colony has on our people and how this extends to my people in the Pacific Islands. The rush to mine resources under waters would greatly impact our people living on the islands. These minerals and resources deserve to be protected. They are part of our seas, our homes, and are sacred. It is never us versus them. It will always be us. It will always be for our future ancestors. For if there is no land, if my home does not exist anymore, then my people do not exist. And who's to say you're not next? Our youth, especially our indigenous youth, have the answers to this fight. You just need to listen, for we have learned from living libraries with generations of knowledge. Our island homes deserve to be protected. My people deserve to exist. We are descendants of warriors, and therefore I am one too. We will stand up and fight back, and just as the water, we too will rise. Thank you so much.
Show some love in the chat, Malika. Thank you so much for that. The first time that me and Jackie heard that at the at the People Summit, we grabbed each other like, whoa, that was so, it really touched us in a way where, I mean, your words just carry so much spirit and your people come with you. So we're appreciative of you bringing that into this space. That brings us so nicely into what we'll be talking about later on, which is the fossil fuel foolery contest, which we are welcoming and inviting people to have spoken word, to do to connect with different art forms in order to talk about and to come against the fossil fuel industry with some amazing cash prizes. So thank you for that. We'll talk more about that at the end, which we introduced at the last webinar, but we have extended the contest. So yeah, have some really cool updates and information with you all about that. But in the meantime, Jackie Patterson, our fearless leader, will give us a grounding as to why we're all here for part 2, what this is all about, what is fossil fuel foolery, and then we'll get right into deep conversation amongst our amazing Afro-descendant femmes who are with us today. Like, I just love this group. Jackie?
Thank you so much. It's such a joy to be with you all. As Cheryl said, it is just it's filling my it's 7 a.m. where I am, and it's woken me up with a sense of deep fulfillment and hope because we know who holds the future. So thank you. And the present, really. So I want to get us started. I with a in terms of the grounding with a video actually that because we always we talk about the Hamish principles and letting people speak for themselves, and so when folks aren't here, I want to at least be able to show a video so people are speaking in their own voice, and it also is a little bit of culture work as well. So let me share screen, hopefully, and show this to you. So this, and just to give you a little bit of a background, it is a video that was created in this place called Baytown, Texas. And it is the community telling their stories of being on the front lines of fossil fueled foolery. So I'll start with that and then give you a little bit of a sense of what's in the report. So here we go. I have way too many screens open, so scrolling. Okay, here we go. So, all right, there it is. And the video, we'll have to actually open another screen so you can see the video. Hold on. Okay, good. And I'll have to stop share for a minute. Sorry about that. I forgot about you having to do that because you can't see the video now, can you? No. Okay, so let me stop share and pull it up. All right, here we go.
The city of Baytown is made of old money, lower to middle class families, and pollution. But if you get a job at a chemical plant, you don't have time to think of a solution. I guess my brother, my uncle, and my cousins are sellouts because they went industrial instead of the drug route. Refinery city lights and pipes run along the Gulf Coast. The smoke boasts with sulfur air. It's a wonder anyone's able to take a breath. We're so used to it, we forget. Soon, the sons and daughters won't be able to drink the water. They say the first priority is the people, but the people are the ones being excluded and uprooted. Just ask Archicords, ask George Washington Carver Elementary, or ask the Suburbanites, Exxon Sacrifice, aka Brownwood Neighborhood. God bless social media, but Flint ain't the only case of complexion without protection. Baytown, aka the Dirty Bay, is surrounded by giant toxins, threatening the city in every way. We see the huge still from our window sills, make jokes as we choke. We've been possibly dying from this kind of poison oak. It's no mystery that the Black and brown communities are being targeted. Black lives matter, but not when they're expendable and making money is good for the market. Give them a fine, it's fine. They can afford it. We live with the headaches, the shortness of breath, and watery eyes. They keep building, and we pay for it. Constantly trying to heal ourselves and repel the environmental destruction. Breathe it in, then breathe out.
Yeah. So that was Baytown, Texas. Scenes and sentiments that I know Sister Rashetta is very familiar with. And it really grounds us in why we're here today. It really grounds us in why the folks on this call are fighting every day and building something new and something different every day. Oh, you can't hear the sound? Did you not hear the sound at all? Oh, okay, good. I just saw the chat. Oh goodness. Okay, good. Um, so I I share that again so that people are speaking with their own voice, that you're hearing the people that we work on behalf of and work arm in arm with every day, and you're hearing firsthand and how they. Oh yes, we'll send the link to the video for sure. And there's a longer version. Just looking at the chat, there's a longer version. It's actually just an excerpt from a full feature film that's now been developed. So we'll definitely share that. Yeah. So, just getting quickly into the fossil fuel foolery uh, report, which again is in response to hearing those types of stories all the time, the daily realities that our communities are facing. And so, I'll just give you a little bit of an overview of what's in the report, and then, of course, the folks who are and the panel will provide further texture to that work. So again, we know the transition is inevitable, but justice is not guaranteed. And so these are the tactics that we outline in the report. And hopefully we'll put the report back in the chat for anyone who's come later. So these are the top 10 fossil fuel industry tactics, and I'll go through each of them as we go through. So undermining democracy. Now we've seen not only these statistics that were in the report in terms of donating hundreds of thousands of dollars to voter suppression laws and so forth, and ExxonMobil suing its own shareholders to block climate related resolutions, and fossil fuel lobbyists being architects of laws criminalizing protests near pipeline, that's felonies. And then we've seen what happened just this over these last couple of weeks with the repeal of voting rights. And so we made this into a parody, or a kind of comic book type of thing. And it was interesting because I did this. We did the first report when I was with the NAACP, and there were relationships there and so forth that made it so that I wanted to introduce it in a way that called out what was going on, but needed to do it in a way that worked in the context that I was in. And it also does make some of this more accessible, although it's in some ways certainly not a laughing matter, but it also just calls out the ridiculousness of what's happening. And so we've seen like that these things are not just things that they were trying to do, but now things that they have been successful in doing in terms of repealing the Voting Rights Act. But yet still, as we talk about in the victory side of the report, yet still we rise. We still are able to you know to push forward with justice and what's right. And so what's happening is that we continue to push forward, they continue to push back because the bigger the threat we are, the harder they push, and the more they put the machinery of the well financed efforts to suppress democracy into play because they're fighting for the life of their greed and their wanting and their extractive economy. So we have a lot that we're up against, but we're also, the people on the call are leading in the victories. Financing politicians, and Ohio's Empowerment Alliance is a gas-backed dark money group that spent millions of dollars to redefine natural gas as green energy. Um, how fossil fuel CEOs leverage White House access to successfully delay the landmark European Union environmental disclosure laws, and then that in 2024, a record $150 million it was pushed was levied against the EPA power plant standards, which of course now it was interesting. I had a USA Jobs account from way back when, and they told me it was about to expire the other day unless I don't sign in. So I signed in, and just out of curiosity, I put in climate change to see what kind of jobs there are, if any, in climate change, and it literally didn't even come up. Like, you know how you put a word in and it'll auto complete other words, other possibilities. It didn't auto complete anything, and then when I pushed search, like literally nothing came up. That's how successful they've been of just eliminating any notion of addressing climate change and the work that they're doing. So we're really up against a concerted and well-financed effort and our politicians are not up to what we need. And so fortunately, we have some politicians, as we see in Tennessee, who are not backing down. And those are the kind of politicians we're seeing more people say we have to get behind these politicians who are uncompromising as opposed to the ones who are letting themselves be swayed. Funding biased research, insisting that so again, here we are, forget it, he insists fire is just a hoax. These are the kind of things that are you try to laugh at them, but unfortunately they're such the reality of what we're facing. Claiming regulations hurt people with low wealth, the economy, and ratepayers the American Gas Association called electrification a racist policy attacking Black cooking culture. This is the American Gas Association. Framing clean appliance standards as a tax on the poor, quote unquote. Claiming that of course, pollution is costing low-cost families thousands of medical bills, and the clean energy is often cheaper, but their claims is the very opposite. Um, and so again, we just have the reality of actually what's going on and the relationships between everyone from the White House down to the courts with the fossil fuel industry and of course the public utilities commissions and public service commissions and so forth. Denying or understating harms, the Louisiana Chemical Association, which I know or I should have known all too well, funds studies claiming that there's no credible evidence linking petrochemical plants to the high cancer rates in St. James Parish and otherwise, despite EPA's findings of unacceptable cancer risk. That they blame the illness on individual lifestyle choices rather than industrial pollution, specifically citing diet and smoking. And so again, Southern Utilities lobbying to keep toxic coal ash in unlined pits near Black communities, publicly claiming groundwater risk is quote unquote negligible, when again, the truth is so very different in terms of there being yeah, anyway. Then we have uh, sorry, I'm going to switch to the next. I want to get us through so we can go on to the panelists. Um, we know that of course the regulations are health protecting regulations versus the whole notion of job killing regulations or things that are getting in the way of progress and so forth. We know that there are economic opportunities in building the new, building the sustainable systems. So we also have this notion of deflecting responsibility. BP popularized this personal carbon footprint calculator again to shift the focus from industrial production to individual lifestyle, and that there's so much that they've known for years that they've suppressed or denied so that they can continue to do business as usual. We also know that each year it's a hotter record, a heat record that exceeds the record of the past year. And again, eco-zealot enough of the woke weather, according to this farce. And in this situation, let's go back to the scenario in which none of this is my fault. So again, just pointing to other people instead of recognizing the responsibility of the fossil fuel industry, co-opting community leaders, unfortunately, giving grants that create quote unquote a culture of silence where leaders feel unable to speak out against pollution. And right here on our panel and so many more are the exceptions and a growing resistance against this type of manipulation. And exaggerating job creation, claiming there are jobs when a lot of times when they're creating these fossil fuel infrastructure projects, they're bringing the people in for the projects, and the people in the community don't even have the jobs. And even when they do have the jobs, they take advantage of communities that are, again, with low wealth and end up with communities being weapons of their own destruction by being employed in these industries. But as the sister was saying on the video, that there's not much choice in some of those communities. And so, and then praising false solutions, and how do we turn these into liquefied natural gas terminals? The false solutions. ExxonMobil acquired a carbon dioxide pipeline company for $4.9 billion, not to fight climate change, but to extend oil extraction. The Shell carbon capture and sequestration project was funded 93% by public money. We saw the same thing in Mississippi with the Kemper County plant and so forth. Blue hydrogen, of course, can be 20% more carbon intensive than simply burning gas directly due to methane links, etc. And so I want to wrap up because I know we started a little bit later, but I had 15 minutes and I want to stick to that. But the folks on the call will talk much more about the victories and also about some of the global examples. This is the examples of some of the ways that we've won, whether it's a Byhalia pipeline in Memphis, the Jordan Cove LNG plant in Oregon, Rise St. James versus Formosa, the Keystone XL pipeline, the North Brooklyn pipeline, the Morris and Marcus versus Exxon situation with the grassroots women in the lead there in Guyana, and so forth. So there's so much more I would have said, but I'm going to leave it to the panelists to really talk about both the challenges and the victories that they have been able um, to mount. But our mandate here is to really dismantle the playbook. And we invite you all to, so we have a lot in the way in the report in the way of both the challenges as well as the victories. And we invite you to submit if you go onto the site, and hopefully someone will put it in the chat where you can put in your challenges and victories, and we'll add it to a tracker. When we do the next edition, we'll feature it in the next report. But in the meantime, the tracker is always live and always adding new examples. So thank you all. Appreciate you. And I'll hand it back to Cheryl. Thanks.
Thank you so much for that grounding, Jackie. There's never enough time, right? Because there's so much. You could have a whole multi-day retreat, honestly, talking about our victories, also our challenges, and also exposing the fossil fuel industry for exactly what it is and exactly how it seeks to destroy our people. But we know that it will not win, and they know that too. So with that said, let's get right into it. I know there's a lot that we want to really dive into. And so yeah, let's get right into that. I think the first part, like as we're kind of building off of what Jackie was talking about, was really exposing the fossil fuel foolery playbook and understanding the tactics that they use when they come into our communities. And so the first question is to you, Malika. We know that across many Pacific islands, fossil fuel expansion and militarized development are often sold as economic opportunity, energy security, or modernization, bringing people into the new age, etc. How have you and your community exposed these narratives as extensions of colonial extraction rather than genuine development or the genuine desire to support your communities?
Yeah, I could cover that in both Indigenous Australia and the Pacific Islands, because it all comes down to education, right? And that's why the project that we're doing on our island is like targeting our community through our languages, because it's also a language barrier, right? It's that language barrier where people constantly use English, big words, and make it sound fancy and always have smiles on their faces. And because my people are like, the Tongan people are like branded as the happy people. Fijians are happy people too. Like, we're very in our cultures, we're very giving, welcoming peoples. And so when people come to us and say, this is an opportunity for you and your people to expand your economy, right? And especially on the islands where most of us don't have the opportunity to have jobs. Like, even on my island of Mare, like, when one job comes up, you have every person who's unemployed apply for that singular job. And it's just like, it's obviously one going to be taken, but now we have all these people who are hungry for work going to be preyed on, when you have people in mining and fracking and deep sea mining going into these communities and imploring people to sign up, because again, it's something that's never been done before. So people are just like curious as well. And so you're trying to educate your peoples in our language and ensuring that they understand the effects, because we've seen the firsthand effects of climate change. We understand what tsunamis are capable of. We understand what king tides are capable of, erosion, algae blooms. Like, there are so many different things that affect us. And then you have the heat levels affecting our islands as well. Like, it's actually quite, like, when I think about it, and this is why I fight so hard, all my ancestry leads to a land that is being completely devastated by climate change, either through militarization, deep sea mining, fracking, mining, and then the climate change effects of that. And it's so important that our communities are able to understand and are able to be given the opportunity, right? To be like, hold on, I have a question, because our questions aren't usually answered, right? When we have questions for these big corporations. And that's why it's literally our responsibility. The onus is put onto us to translate and to ensure our people understand. And it's usually our young people, because we've grown up translating. That has been our second nature. We understand how to speak English in our languages. And so that responsibility automatically falls on us, because when our elders talk to these people, they automatically look at us like, you understand, but you translate, like, it is second nature to us. And so even when our people are targeted, like, I'm going back to mainland Australia, when we're talking about mining communities, they target Aboriginal folks so severely that they go out to schools and they're like, do you want to join our company? They have scholarships for blackfellas to join their mining companies, because they're like, this is a great opportunity for you and your people. And it blows my mind at how people have normalized these opportunities as something that is good for our people. But again, also, these are the only jobs available in our remote and rural communities. And so, yes, it is something that we're fighting against, but also it is the only jobs that are available for our people. And so you have forced displacement as well, where people are moving from their homelands to find good jobs. And so even in the Pacific Islands, we have people who are flying to so-called Australia to pick fruit, specifically picking fruit. We have a whole banana, um, uh, a whole fruit industry, and specifically bananas in North Queensland and down south. We have other fruit being picked by Pacific Islanders who have sold the idea that this is also the only opportunity that we have. And so it is, one, job scarcity, but two, translation and making sure that our people understand what is happening. Yeah. Yes.
That is so. I see Dr. Royshetta shaking her head because their tactics are as old as time, and they use them across our diaspora. Like they come in the same masks and do the same things in our communities. To that point, I wanted to talk to you, Dr. Royshetta, about the price of co-optization. A universal tactic that was highlighted in the report is the insidious co-opting of local leaders through grants, community center sponsorships, targeted funding. Look at this opportunity. Look at this amount of money. You know your community needs it. So when the industry tries to buy local endorsements and leaders to do their dirty deeds, how do we foster unity and maintain our joint purpose without alienating under-resourced groups, as Malika was talking about, who need the funding or who need the jobs or who need the resources? How do we do that?
Thanks so much. And yes, I was shaking my head because, of course, we can all relate. It doesn't matter where we are in the world. It's the same playbook as you stated, Cheryl. You know, throughout this whole webinar from the beginning, even with the opening song, I've been thinking about the scripture, Ecclesiastes 1:9. What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. And it seems like we are reliving those things now. Every win that we have celebrated, everything that we thought we knocked down, it is coming back to hunt us. A lot of times we use the term zombie bill, zombie whatever within this climate movement, or we say things like we're playing whack-a-mole. You know, we feel like we won and then it comes back. I was looking at even some of the wins that were outlined in the report and how we're fighting some of those things again, especially in St. James with Formosa is not completely dead, you know, but we do have to celebrate those wins when we have them, because we know that they may come back. They have the money, the financial ability to come back, to fight us, to overturn things, to buy judges, to buy races, to buy presidential elections, as we know. And so because of that, the way we win is by taking care of the people. You know, I've said this since you all have met me, since the first time I spoke on the stage, when I was given a platform in this environmental justice world, because this is a hard world to get into. People have been doing this work for many years, and it takes many years of work before you're recognized for the work you're doing. Sometimes you're doing the work and you don't even know you're working. But anyway, whenever I was given a platform to speak in front of funders about 6 years ago, I remember saying to them, the way we win is by taking care of the people. We cannot keep identifying communities as communities of low resource, low funding, contaminated water. Why aren't we taking care of those things? Because if we fix those issues, guess what? Those industries will not target those communities. We know from several reports and research that have been done that industries come to communities that they feel like are the path of least resistance, the communities where they feel there are no resources, where people are struggling, where people are too distracted by their own issues to pay attention to what's going on. So if we ensure that these people have food, that they have safe water, clean drinking water, that they have the resources that they need, those industries will bypass those communities. And why can't we mimic this across communities, not only in the United States, but abroad? And that is what Vessel Project does. We are a mutual aid organization. As someone who lives in Southwest Louisiana, an area that's surrounded by industry, an area where I cannot go to my faucet and catch water in a cup to drink it, I know all too well the struggles that communities like mine face. You know, I live in a region where industry and pollution are woven into daily life. People literally wake up smelling rotten eggs and smelling chemicals and feel like That's the smell of money. It is okay. It's always been that way. That's fine. They continue to go on. They become nose blind to those scents. I have watched families navigate cancer diagnosis, respiratory illnesses, displacement after hurricanes, and economic instability, all while being told they should be grateful that these industries are bringing jobs. What sense does that make when the very communities where these industries are located have the highest unemployment rates? So we know they aren't getting the jobs, right? So when we talk about the price of co-optation, we approach this with compassion and honesty, because many of these under-resourced communities and organizations are surviving however they can. If I'm telling you that I can't drink the water from my faucet, that we are running out of drinking water, and you are a funder or an organization, and you hear me say that, yet your main goal is to stop an industry as opposed to ensuring that I have safe drinking water, there is a problem. We have forgotten about the people, because we can stop that industry, but that industry may come back. But if we don't ensure that Rashetta has safe drinking water, when Rashetta is dead and gone from not having water, because water is literal life, I can't come back. You can't go back and change it. So how are we taking care of people? The real issue is not that not communities trying to survive. It's corporations using desperation to buy silence. We build unity by creating spaces for transparency, political education, and shared strategy, while also fighting for resources that are not tied to community harm. When we support community gardens, community owned solar, these are projects that eventually defeat the industries that we're fighting. But if we continue to just look at these industrial projects as numbers, as something we're trying to win, as something we're trying to stop, we are already losing. We're going to continue to play whack-a-mole. We're going to continue to play. And I'm not saying to stop going after industries, because every organization has a mission, right? And a lot of organizations are mission driven. Their mission is to stop industry XYZ, and that is all they're focused on. But what I'm saying is we need funders and more organizations who care about the people, who are building up people power, who are ensuring that these communities have the resources that they need, so that industries won't look at those communities as a sacrifice zone, as the path of least resistance. And if we help the community members who are in those communities to build these projects, to build these programs, to own their own electricity, their own grid, their own solar, those community members are going to fight against anything that's coming to attack those things that they have built. And that is what we're trying to do with Vessel Project. With the Gulf Hub, we are highlighting what financial institutions and insurance companies are funding these industries. If you're putting $1 billion into industries that are harming us, turn around and put that money in directly into the community and see what the community can do with that funding. And that's it. It's putting community and people first. And that is our approach.
Wow. Wow. That's a mic drop. Like, I'm forgetting I'm trying to get my bearings together. I'm over here taking notes on what you're saying. No, but 100%. It's about focusing on people's material condition. How can you blame the victims of a deeply colonial and violent system for doing what it is that they need to do to survive? It's about focusing on material condition. And that's one of the things I know, like, we at Chisholm Legacy Project are always thinking about what is happening in the community, what is happening with the actual frontline community leaders and members and people who have to wake up and, like you said, smell these things every day and look out into their communities and see what's happening outside of their windows and tell themselves, this is just a part of my daily life. This is just what I have to live like. That's a lie. And we reject that. And so how do we take care of our people? And to that point, that brings us to our next question, to Stephanie, which is really about taking care of, when we're talking about combating these systems that Dr. Royshetta, that Malika we're talking about, in combating the financial and structural machinery. we already know, as they were all saying, that the current era of climate is set to have rollbacks on women's rights, on trans rights, on immigrant rights, racial justice, etc. All of these things have become buzzwords. How has your organization successfully built coalitions across movements to show the public that these are not parallel crises, but symptoms of the same ideology? And how are we taking care of those multiple population groups or multiple groups? How are you bridging these groups together and thinking about taking care of each other and taking care of ourselves?
Yeah, that was really powerful, Dr. Roshetta. But yeah, let me share really quickly with Black Women for Wellness. What we stand for is in our name. We're here, we're unapologetically Black, and we're here for the health and well-being of overall Black women and Black girls. While we do focus a lot on Black leadership within our community, we understand that this isn't an issue that's solely affecting us, right? So for us, what we do is we are in coalition. We're in a coalition called Stand LA, Standing Together Against Neighborhood Oil Drilling in Los Angeles. And we know that the issues that our community is facing is not occurring in isolation, right? So I know within a lot of different organizational spaces, it does feel a little bit isolated, right? Where we're Black women and we're fighting for our Black women. We have another community that might be advocating for their own community, right? But there's not always enough time or enough conversations about the fact that our struggles are intersecting, right? So, Black Women for Wellness, we started out as a reproductive justice organization, but you can't have reproductive justice without having environmental justice, right? So all of these issues, you can't look at them as they're issues that are occurring in isolation. You have to continue to partner up and realize that we are all facing the same systems of oppression, right? It's not something that you can just you can focus on one issue without tackling another, right? So for us, we always try to make sure that we're centering community voices. Like for instance, if we have a workshop or like just a community conversation about water, right? Someone might want to learn about oil drilling and how that's impacting them, right? And so leaving space for our community to be able to have conversations about everything, not just talking about the fossil fuel industry, right? We also do a lot of work with the UN Global Plastics Treaty. So highlighting the fact that plastic is a fossil fuel product, right? It's something that like big oil right now is really turning to in order to maintain their profits. So we know that we cannot just focus on oil. We have to focus on plastics too. We have to focus on water. We have to focus on all the other oppressive systems that are harming us, right? So for us, we do a lot of work building and connecting with other groups that are fighting fossil fuel expansion. We're fighting all of these issues in isolation and bringing ourselves together in order to fight back as one big group, right? So all of these are all symptoms of the same system, right? Instead of just fighting the systems and fighting the symptoms, we need to actually address the root. And so bringing our coalitions of not just Black groups, but every other brown group that is also being affected, and standing in the fact that we are unapologetically Black and we are specifically here to advance and also like just we are at the intersection of everything as Black women. So we always make sure that we are centering not only like our voices in the fight, but making sure that our voices are heard and elevated in these fights and in these coalition spaces as well. Sorry, that was a lot.
was it was perfect, and it made perfect sense, and it was really good to bring us, I think, into the point of, as we're talking about solutions and like what our organizations and what our peoples are doing. I think you brought a lot of really good points into the room. We know that when we help and support and uplift Black women, everybody intrinsically is also helped and supported and uplifted. So that is our politic, that is our belief system, and we're grateful for the work that you all are doing. And so, yeah, this question is to Malika, specifically to that point about what we are doing what resistance, leadership, and actual solutions are looking like, because we know that through history and years and centuries and centuries of oppression, we're an innovative people. It's in our DNA, it's in our blood. So solutions are who we are. And that's why you can look to us for these solutions. So we know that in so-called Australia, in our Indigenous communities, you all are surviving and continue to lead powerful resistance movements and visions for the future. What are some examples of Indigenous-led solutions, steward practices, organizing strategies that give you hope? And how can we who are fighting this fossil fuel industry — I learned the term petrocolonialism, the petropatriarchy, for the first times at the fossil fuel conference in treaty conference in Santa Marta — how can we learn from Indigenous peoples in an understanding of land reciprocity, ooh, that's a hard one, and collective responsibility?
I don't know if you saw my face when you were asking that question, because when you're asking that question, like all these memories and all these stories like came to me. And it brought me so much joy. Because one thing that Black fellas are good at is that we can fight, but we do it with so much joy too. Like I belong obviously to my island, but I also grew up in Western Sydney, which is also a low socioeconomic area that is popularized by the imagery of our struggle, and also from the Brisbane Blacks here in so-called Brisbane, Mianjin, Maganjin, one of the language names. But yeah, it brought me so much joy because there is so much staunchness, right, in the way that we exist. And it starts when you're young. Like when a baby gets a microphone at a march and she starts saying, what do we want? And then the whole crowd answers, land rights. When do we want it? Now. Like that's the type of grow up that our young ones are experiencing. And it's really giving us the tools and weapons, really, right, to take head on colonialism, because it is colonialism, right, that we're really fighting. And so when we talk about solutions, I'm just like, my people are so cool and deadly. Like my people are so like amazing, because tell me why we have so many people. So-called Australia is made up of 500 countries and tribes and clans, and yet we're able to interconnect and connect our fights from the top of Australia to the bottom of so-called Australia, to the west, to the east. Like we're that strong and staunch, and we're doing work where it's language revitalization and storytelling. And when I say storytelling, most people think, oh, we just share stories. Like, nah. Those stories come with actions. Like when we tell a story, that story comes with actions at the end. When old people and young people tell you a story and their fight about their community, they present you with actions that you, as someone who is passionate or clueless about what's happening, they provide you actions that you can participate in. Because one thing that is always that always comes forth in this fight is that everything is reciprocal, because the colony isn't just killing our people, it's killing the people who are part of it. It's killing the colonizers too. So the colony isn't just targeting us, it's killing its own people too. And that's one thing that our old people always talk about. They don't care about us, but they also don't care about you, mob. They don't care about you, mob. And so it's really important that these projects and Indigenous governance is prioritized and looked at, because like again, from the top of Australia, we're doing language revitalization, because you can't protect country if it doesn't understand the language that you speak. It is so important that language is highlighted and prioritized in every community, and that that learning journey is provided for everyone, because that way we can protect country, and it understands us. It knows who we are. It feels safe for us to talk to it. And again, one thing that is always missing from these conversations is land trauma. The land trauma, the trauma that the land experiences is trauma that we experience too. When the land is harmed, our bodies are harmed too. When the land is sick, our bodies are sick too. We experience that. It is a reciprocal relationship. And the people who live on that land who aren't indigenous to it, they experience that too. When the land is sick, they're sick too. And you see that in mining communities when they have white folks who have lived there for years, and they experience sickness and illnesses when the land is being bombed, and it's dust pollution, and it's pollution from the bombings that are happening, but also it opens up gas pockets, which then pollutes the water. And so that is really affecting every single person. And so it's really important that we're able to speak to the land, and that's why language revitalization is prioritized in so many communities, and young people and old people are really leading that. But it's mostly our young people who are trying to bridge that gap, because again, our languages were banned. Our languages were forbidden. And so it's really, really important that we push that narrative that it no longer exists, or that we're not allowed to speak our languages anymore. Because I tell you what, if a colonizer told me that I'm not allowed to speak my language, I dare you say that again. But it's really important that we have that, and that's in our fight and struggle. When I talk about Indigenous governance, I go back to my grandfather. My grandfather is a weatherman. He reads the stars and the colors of the sky, and he makes sure that it's important that knowledge is passed down to our people. So so we can continue culture. Culture is one thing that keeps our people grounded. And when our culture is extended to other people who aren't Indigenous, they also feel a connection to the land that they live on. They feel like they understand the country that they are settling on. It is so important that the people who call this place home understand that this place is a living place. Land is not dead. Land is living. The water is living. And some of these places are our literal ancestors. And so one thing that we also are very passionate about is ensuring that our young people understand our cultural protocols, understand the way that we govern, understand the very way that we think. And so that's why we really do a lot of work with gardening, a lot of work with stargazing, a lot of work with our people in teaching migration patterns. And there are calendars now that exist in different communities all across the East Coast, but especially in the Torres Strait, where we have all this information plus our language, because it's so important that those are connected and are prioritized in our communities, because it allows us to, one, thrive and continue to exist, but it also ensures that the land that we're talking to and that we're governing, it continues to exist too. There are so many different projects across so-called Australia. There are so many deadly projects led by Tiwi mob, who are in the Northern Territory, and you have mob in Alice Springs who are doing deadly work, and then you have mob in Gomeroi country. Gomeroi country is one of the big land masses in so-called New South Wales near Sydney. And they're doing so much work in stopping the mines down south. I had the opportunity to travel to Narrabri a couple of years ago actually. And their fight is connecting mining communities to Indigenous people and ensuring that they understand that their fight is one fight. Like, there are so many different ways and different deadly things that our communities are doing, which I wish I could talk about forever, but they're so important and so essential, and not just ensuring that our lands and skies and waters prosper, but also ensure that, one, our people prosper and the people who call our lands home prosper too. Because again, one thing that our people prioritize is your humanness. And if your liberation isn't tied to mine, then you're not someone who is for my liberation. That's a cut up quote of Ani there. But yeah, it's such a beautiful, beautiful practice, beautiful art of how our people carry themselves. And like even with art, sorry, I'm going all over the place, but the way that our people prioritize art as a way of resistance, as a way of ensuring that our people are able to protect their country is so beautiful too. There's so many different peoples who are doing that work down south in Sydney specifically, and here in Brisbane, where we're creating artworks and actions that are art pieces to ensure that we block mining boats, we block folk. I don't want to give too much away, but we block things that are illegal. Because I know I was going to say an action that's coming up, so I didn't say that. But yeah, we block things that
Yeah,
are
we're still on
illegal
Zoom.
and protecting our country. Yeah. But yeah, there are so many things, so many deadly things, and I wish I could talk about it all. But those are just a couple of things that our communities are doing, and it's just language revitalization, community care, ensuring that our young ones feel empowered and they don't feel ashamed of who they are, so that next generation of warriors and storytellers are able to continue that fight. Because one thing that I always say is that my biggest wish in life is actually to be able to sit on my beach and fish. And people are like, oh, that's a ridiculous dream. Or that's a simple dream. That's a dream my ancestors had since time immemorial. And that's a dream that's under threat because we won't have an island soon. So it's really important that that dream exists. And I hand that dream to my children so they know where they're from. So they know the fishing skills that were passed down to me. Yeah, that. So sorry.
No, that was really powerful and super important. And the piece that you said about intergenerational and really driving that home, I think is one of the most important solutions that we can have, honestly, to our movements across the world. So that was really, really important. I just want to let the folks online know we're going to move into the Q&A session shortly after I ask this last question. So have your questions ready. You can put them in the chat and we'll start to ask those to any of the panelists. Any questions that you have, go ahead and you can start filling those into the chat. And yeah, this question is to you, Dr. Wayshetta. Sorry, I'm trying to take notes at the same time as I'm listening to you guys. But you've all achieved transformational wins by disrupting the extractive economy. As we advance a systemic just transition, what does that actually look like when it translated to your specific geographic context for you and your community? What is one non-negotiable political demand our movement must unite behind to ensure no community is left behind, as we were talking about in these sacrifice zones?
Yeah, and I'm gonna apologize because my little 8-year-old, he is just back and forth. So y'all probably see my facial expressions. But being a mother is the first thing for me. It comes first. I won't get off this call to go see about him. But yes, a couple of things before I answer that question, and my answer is really simple. But I just want to say that it's amazing how we connect across these false borders and these imaginary regions that are set to kind of like displace us and make us feel so far away, but we're still connected. I was listening to Malika speak and talking about the different regions, the South, and also talking about that intergenerational work and talking about the elders and the young people and how we have those same strategies, how we're thinking the same about preserving our language, preserving our culture, preserving our areas, and how we're trying to incorporate joy and remind people why we're fighting. Because so many times these fights seem like we can't win. As I was saying earlier, whenever you feel like you have a win and then you feel like you've stopped something and then it comes back and then you feel discouraged because you put all that work and this is not work that happens overnight. Sometimes you're fighting for years and you finally get that win, and then it may take months for it to be turned around, and then now you're fighting for years again. And so just to hear how we're all thinking about how can we preserve the culture, thinking about Louisiana and how we love our food and our seafood, and how Louisiana is a sportsman's paradise, but yet that very culture is being threatened. When I hear people say things like the food doesn't taste the same, and thinking about that in connection to Malika talking about how when the land is hurt, or when the land is damaged, or when the land is sick, we're sick. The food doesn't taste the same because the land isn't the same. The soil isn't the same. The soil is poison. So it doesn't matter if you're growing your own fruit and vegetable in your backyard. It may not taste the same because it's poison, because the rain is poison, because the soil is poison, because of the industry that is surrounding your community. So if that is sick, it is still going to make you sick, and you're not going to feel good and feel that joy. So how are we preserving that culture, preserving our love for food, preserving our love for music, our storytelling? Talking about storytelling, especially in the Black community, we have been telling stories since the beginning of time, through our dance, through our hair, through our music, through our poetry. We have been telling stories. We have been connecting our culture and ensuring that future generations know what we're going through. We're here in 2026, and we know about how Africans sowed seeds into their hair to be able to have food whenever they escaped from slavery. We know about that. Why do we know those stories? They weren't, the white man wasn't writing our story down in books. So how did those stories get passed down to us? That's how we're gonna win. We're gonna continue to fight for our culture. But talking about those non-negotiables, and one more point I want to make. It's whenever I hear you say Dr. Rochetta, it's still new for me. It's something that I wasn't gonna celebrate because whenever I started this doctoral journey, it was for my children. And I lost my son in December. And when you lose part of your reason, part of your why for doing something, it's hard to celebrate it. And that's true for me, but that's also true for this movement. When people are fighting for their homes and they lose their home due to a natural disaster or whatever, that ancestral land, when they lose that, it's hard for them to continue to fight. When we lose that culture, when we lose that joy, you don't want to celebrate. It's hard. It's hard to accept that joy and grief can exist together because we haven't been taught that. We have been taught, especially as Black people, as Afro-Indigenous people, as women, as femmes, that we can't celebrate. We can't have joy. We can't rest because if we're resting or if we're enjoying something, then we're not working. And if we're not working, we're not worthy. And we feel like we have to earn these certain titles. Like for me, going and get a doctorate degree, I'm saying the same thing that I was saying but before I got the degree. But because I have the degree, more people are listening. And why do we have to feel that way? We feel that way to the fact that some women feel like they have to make up these titles, that they have to pretend to have these titles for people to listen to them. Why is it that way? Why is it that way? And I was thinking about whenever Malika was talking and whenever Stephanie was talking, and I always make this joke whenever I'm on a panel that I'm not a panel person. I'm a keynote speaker because I talk a long time. I talk a long time because I have a lot to say. And I don't get that many platforms where people are actually listening and taking notes. Some people want me in the room to check off a list to say we have a Black woman from, a frontline community, whatever, so they can check their list off for their funders. There are rare opportunities that where we get to be in a room where people are actually listening to take notes to make change. And so whenever I get those spaces, it's so much I want to say. It's so much I want to relate. And it's amazing how when we get together, it automatically connects with or without questions. The answers, the stories, the solutions, they automatically connect. But I do want to answer your question because it's simple. Demanding the non negotiables, whenever we talk about a just transition, we've answered that question on this call already. It just means that no community is treated as disposable for corporate profit. That is the answer. That is our non negotiable. Stop treating communities as sacrifice zones. Actually take care of communities, ensure communities have what they need. It means investing in things like renewable energy, healthcare, education, disaster resilience, clean water, and economic opportunities that are community led and sustainable. We've answered this over and over and over and over. Any playbook that you look at that is community focused, that is frontline centered, it says the same thing. We know that nothing will change overnight. We know that it's going to take a transition, but we also know that that transition must be just. And in order for that transition to be just, the people who are most impacted by the problem have to be the first ones contacted for the solution. They already have the answers. I'm surviving in Sulphur, Louisiana without being able to drink water from my faucet. How am I doing that? Ask me. That is part of the solution. How are people surviving? How am I able to grow food in my backyard without being able to plant it directly into the soil? Ask me, because maybe I have solutions that can be duplicated across communities. One of those non negotiable demands for our global movement is that we must unite around this. This is what we must unite around across movements, is that no new fossil fuel expansion anywhere, because what they're building in my community is not for domestic use. And so if you know in Asia, in Europe, that they're putting pipelines in Rochetta's community, they're building LNG facilities in Rochetta's community to ship across to Asia, and you live in one of those communities in Europe, in Asia, wherever, and you say, no, we don't want this. I don't want to kill Rochetta for energy over here. If we band together and unite and say we don't want this anywhere, that is how we win. We continue to work together, because we cannot, again, we cannot sacrifice any community while claiming to care about climate justice. It just doesn't work. And those are the non negotiables. But I did want to make those few points because, again, whenever I see amazing, beautiful, smart, intelligent women, despite the title, despite the region, despite the area, and we're saying the same thing. It doesn't matter if I have a PhD. I am a woman who is a mother who is living in a community surrounded by industrial pollution. And the facts are my children have asthma. It stinks when I walk outside, and they are trying to build more. Those are the key points. That is what's important. How do we work together to stop it? How do we work together to save my children and Malika's children and Stephanie's children and Cheryl's future children and Jackie's? How do we work together to show that we're not going to accept it anywhere? We're not going to accept it in Louisiana, Australia, Asia, Africa, anywhere. And that those are our non-negotiables.
Period. That's another mic drop. Our interconnectivity is so, it runs so deep. Every time I'm also part of these calls, I feel deep gratitude. That's literally all I can feel, is that I can't believe I'm in concert with women who are doing the things that they're doing, let alone Black women, let alone women across the diet. Like, it's just it's everything to me, and I'm filled with gratitude. Y'all don't forget about the questions in the chat. The last question, well, I don't even know if we have time for that yet at this point, but still ask them if you have them. The last question is to Stephanie. What would a truly healthy, safe, and thriving future look like for Black women and femmes beyond fossil fuels?
Okay. I think that's a great question. What would a truly healthy and safe environment? And I think this is a very big one for like what we're doing right now too. I know there's a lot of conversations about like, oh, sorry. Okay. Um, I will try to be as quick as possible, but I think everyone should have I just think of rest, right? I think for such a long time, especially for Black women, we feel like we've been fighting and we have had to fight for everything. And I think a truly healthy And supportive environment would be an environment where you have clean air, you have clean water, and these are not privileges, right? You have access to housing. You don't need to find housing. Housing is a right. Water should be a right. Food should be a right. Like these should not be privileges that people have to fight for. We should not be competing to survive, right? So I imagine a community where we're able to actually just enjoy and actually express our joy and not have to constantly be battling over here. And you go into work and now you have this corporate environment that you have to fight against, or you go into a policy space and now your story isn't being heard, or you have to switch your language in order to be understood in different spaces, right? I shouldn't have to speak the language of research for my experiences to be valid, right? So I imagine a world where if I come and I say, hey, I need this, I'm able to access that resource immediately. And I am not looked at differently just because I don't directly follow or align with something that someone doesn't believe. And so I just imagine a world where we're able to have rest and be able to just even just put our sword down for just a moment. And that's what I imagine for our future. And I know it's just like we've been fighting for so long. I want to be able to see my family, my immediate family, my work family, everyone to just be able to just for just 5 minutes, let's just sit down and not worry. And so I know that's a huge ambition, but I imagine a future where we're finally able to have rest and release and know that we're safe.
Ashe, it is so. I believe that that future is within our reach and within our reality and will exist for us. Thank you all. You all are incredible. I have so many chills. Thank you. So grateful for this space, for this opportunity. We're just going to go ahead and close ourselves out. And folks, if you all want to put your names, organizations, and contact information in the chat so people can reach out to you if they have any other questions. And just a quick announcement that we announced at the last webinar that we had the Fossil Fuel Foolery contest. If you guys can put that in the chat, I think they already have it. If we can just put it in the chat one more time. We have extended the deadline to June 5th. First place winner is 5,000. Second place is 3,000. Third place is 1,000, and honorable mention will be $500. So we really welcome folks to submit, to put in your submissions before the 5th. We will announce the winner in Bonn at the subsidiary body meetings where we will be convening with Afro descendants across the diaspora. And yeah, we want to show you guys a video example. So if we could get the video up, so we can show folks.
And also, this is just note that it's actually going to be performed by a crew of Black femmes, just like when we did the Mo Money, Mo Problems video. This is just a sample of, so you hear the lyrics a little bit. Yeah, but it's going to actually, the video is going to actually be all Black women, all women on the front lines of climate justice. Yeah, including Cheryl. And any of the sisters on the panel, if you want to join us, you are very welcome. So,
Hit it.
Yeah, we want the beat though. Harold or any oil mogul, they a free throw. Babies down, smoke all in their lungs, they can't breathe, bro. Fossil fools out here walking around, look like Dono. What's up with you fossil fools trying to match our flow? The industry hate on us, but we can't stoop that low. How many tricks you really got? So many makes your head turn. Better watch your back, though. You headed for a sick burn. But will it hurt bad enough for you to learn? We don't like them, we don't like them, we don't like them. And they don't like us, they don't like us, they don't like us. You think we won't let you disrespect the front line they call? NBEJ and its members gonna cease your role. Have you heard the stories coming from the fire people's hearing? Your days are never on the path that you've been steering. Whoa, the kids are not dumb. Speak your stories as you please. Hate tracks, they got none. We all know the road to hell is here with dirty fossil fuels. Ain't that something total, standard, total earth destruction, fool? Sometimes you gotta pop out exposing them. Certified frontliners and get EJing up the score with them. Wake it up, whole time you know who's extolling them. Call them out, cut the EJ got the jump with them. Say Duke, I hear you like the front. Don't cross out North Carolina coalition. To anyone thinking big oils on your side, better watch your back before they betray your hide. You think you got us fooled like we need this war? Trust that we can see what all this death is really for. Big OGC, cooking us like we in a bakery. Certified green tech, certified fakery. Wop, 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 wop. You can't shut us up. Wop, 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 wop. You can't do our stuff. Why you trolling like you care? Ain't you tired? Trying to strike a chord, strike a match, cause you're fire. Yeah. We don't like them. We don't like them. We don't like them. And they don't like us. They don't like us. They don't like us. They're sham, they're sham, they're sham. They're sham, they're sham, they're sham.
Yes, there's sham, period. He really ate that. So yes, y'all, send in your submissions. June 5th is the deadline. We'll have a new updated music video that's coming out soon, so be on the lookout for that. And thank you all again for joining us. Thank you to our amazing panelists. Just 2 seconds, if y'all could just smile, I'm gonna take a quick screenshot because this was too good and everybody's looking so shiny and beautiful. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Period. Thanks, you guys. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and everyone enjoy your weekend. Thank you all so much for this time. I'm so appreciative.